Ever wondered how to make curry roti in just 10 minutes? Welcome to the world where time crunch doesn't mean compromising on taste. Today, we're diving into the delicious realm of curry roti, a dish that's loved for its complexity of flavors and simplicity of ingredients. All you'll need are some common kitchen staples and a few simple culinary tools. It's a culinary journey that's quick, easy, and oh so rewarding. So, are you ready? Stay tuned to master the art of making curry roti in a flash. Before we dive into the cooking process, let's familiarize ourselves with the ingredients. We'll start with the curry. You'll need 2 cups of chopped mixed vegetables, a tablespoon of curry powder, half a cup of coconut milk, and salt to taste. Feel free to add a dash of your favorite spices for that personal touch. Moving on to the roti. This is a simple and versatile bread that requires only 3 ingredients: 2 cups of whole wheat flour, a pinch of salt and water as needed to bring the dough together. And there you have it, a list of simple, accessible ingredients for a meal that's not only delicious, but also nutritious. Remember, the beauty of cooking lies in experimentation. So don't be afraid to tweak these ingredients to suit your palate. Now that we have all the ingredients, why wait? Let's get cooking. The first step is to prepare the dough for our roti. Now let's get our hands a little messy, shall we? Preparing the perfect dough is a fine art, and today we're going to master it. The key to a great roti lies in the dough. It should be soft, pliable, and just the right consistency. Too hard, and your roti will be more like a frisbee. Too soft, and it will fall apart in the pan. So let's find that sweet spot. Start by taking whole wheat flour in a large bowl. Add a pinch of salt to it. Salt not only seasons the dough, but also strengthens the gluten, making your roti softer. Mix the flour and salt together until they are well combined. Next, we add water, but remember, we add it gradually. Pour a little water into the center of your flour mixture and gently mix it in. You're looking to incorporate the water into the flour slowly, so that you can control the consistency of the dough. The goal is to get a dough that is soft, but not sticky. Once you've added enough water and your dough has come together, it's time to knead. This is where the magic happens. Kneading develops the gluten in the dough, making it elastic and stretchy, perfect for rolling out into thin, even rotis. So put in some elbow grease and knead for about 10 minutes. The dough should become smooth and pliable, bouncing back slightly when you poke it. After kneading, let the dough rest for a while. This allows the gluten to relax, making the dough easier to roll out later. Cover it with a damp cloth and let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. The dough is an essential part of our curry roti. It's the canvas on which we'll paint our flavors, the base that will carry our curry. So take your time with it, treat it well, and it will reward you with delicious, fluffy rotis. With the dough ready, we are one step closer to our delicious curry roti. While our dough is resting, let's get started with the curry. This is where the magic happens and our kitchen starts to smell like a tantalizing food haven. First things first, heat up a generous dollop of oil in a deep pan. Let it shimmer for a while, but remember, we don't want it smoking. Into this, we'll drop in a teaspoon of cumin seeds. They'll sizzle and pop, releasing their earthy aroma, and that's when you know it's time for the onions. Slice them thin, so they cook evenly and faster. Give the onions a good stir, let them take on a golden hue. This might take about 5 minutes. Patience is a virtue in cooking, and these onions are worth the wait. As they turn translucent and start to caramelize, throw in a couple of crushed garlic cloves and a knob of grated ginger. Their pungent notes will mingle with the sweetness of the onions, creating an aromatic base for our curry. Now, it's spice time. Add a spoonful each of turmeric, coriander, and cumin powder. Mix them well, allowing the spices to bloom in the heat. This is a crucial step, as it's what gives the curry its depth of flavor. A minute or 2 should suffice. Don't forget the chili powder for that much-needed kick. Next, we'll introduce the tomatoes. Diced, crushed, pureed. Use them any way you like. Just make sure they're ripe and juicy. Stir them in, and let the mixture simmer until the tomatoes break down and meld with the spices. This should take about 10 minutes. The resultant sauce, rich and fragrant, is the heart of our curry. It's time to add the star of the show, the protein. Today, we're using chicken, but feel free to substitute it with your choice of protein. Toss the chicken pieces into the pan, ensuring they're coated well with the sauce. Let it cook, covered, for about 15 minutes, or until the chicken is cooked through. Finally, we'll add a splash of coconut milk for a creamy finish. Stir it in, let it simmer for another 5 minutes. The coconut milk will lend a sweet richness, balancing the heat of the spices. The curry should now be thick, creamy, and oh so tempting. Check for seasoning. A pinch of salt here, a squeeze of lime there. Adjust according to your taste. Garnish with a handful of chopped fresh coriander, and there you have it. Your curry is done, ready to be ladled over hot, fluffy rotis. With our curry simmering away, it's time to turn our attention back to the roti. Now, let's master the art of rolling and cooking our rotis. The dough we prepared earlier should now be perfectly rested and ready to be transformed into delicious, fluffy rotis. First, we'll divide the dough into even portions. Each portion will form one roti. The size of these portions can vary, but a good rule of thumb is to aim for a size roughly equivalent to a golf ball. Once we have our dough balls, it's time to roll them out. Dust your countertop or rolling surface lightly with flour to prevent sticking. Then take one dough ball and flatten it with the heel of your hand. Now, using a rolling pin, we'll roll out the dough, turning it by a quarter after each roll. The goal is to create a thin, round disc, about 6 to 8 inches in diameter. Remember, the thinner the roti, the quicker it will cook. Now let's move to the cooking part. Preheat a flat, non-stick pan or a traditional Indian tawa over medium heat. Once the pan is hot, gently place a rolled out roti onto it. Let it cook for about 20 to 30 seconds, or until you start seeing small bubbles appearing on the surface. That's our cue to flip the roti. After flipping, let the other side cook for about 20 seconds. Now here comes the fun part. We're going to increase the heat to high and flip the roti one more time. If all goes well, the roti should start puffing up like a balloon. This puffing is what gives the roti its distinct layers and fluffiness. But what if your roti doesn't puff up? No worries at all, it's still going to taste amazing. The important thing is to ensure that the roti is cooked thoroughly and evenly. You're looking for a light golden brown color on both sides, with darker brown spots where the dough has bubbled and puffed. Remember to adjust the heat as necessary. The roti should cook quickly, but not so fast that it burns. If the pan is too hot, the roti may burn before it's fully cooked. On the other hand, if the heat is too low, the roti may become hard and brittle. Once each roti is cooked to perfection, transfer it to a plate and brush it lightly with ghee or butter for extra flavor and softness. Repeat the process with the remaining dough balls, and before you know it, you'll have a stack of fresh, hot rotis ready to be devoured. With our rotis cooked to perfection, we're ready for the final assembly. It's finally time to bring it all together. Our curry is simmering with a medley of spices, and the rotis are perfectly golden. Now, how to serve this culinary marvel? Well, it's quite simple. Spoon generous portions of the curry onto your plate and accompany it with a couple of those freshly made rotis. You could also take a more interactive route by tearing a piece of roti, scooping up some curry, and enjoying the burst of flavors right away. And if you're looking for a little extra, why not add a side of pickles or chutneys? They can really enhance the overall taste. Remember, the joy of food lies not just in eating, but also in the process of creating it. From kneading the dough to stirring the curry, every step is a delightful journey, so don't hesitate to experiment and make this recipe your own. There you have it, a delicious curry roti made in just 10 minutes. Happy cooking.